welcome to Generation Fam. This is James. This is my continuing run of experimental podcasts to get things going before I actually try and do this full time or something like that. With me today, I've got a person who I don't actually really know that well in real life. Who her name is Anna. Hello.
Hi.
Do you give out like your last name on the internet, or do you go by?
Yeah, I don't really care. No one knows how to pronounce or spell it anyway, so.
So you just want to go by Anna, or?
Anna Bauert, yeah, whatever.
Bauer?
Bauert.
Bauert.
Jack Bauer, but
Anna
with the
Bauert.
T.
Okay. Well, see, I would have got that wrong.
Yeah, everyone does.
I feel like I have to fill people in the context of why she's here in the shed. Otherwise, none of this will make sense that we're going to talk about today. I sort of came across Anna at Pack Screen Workshops, which Anna runs, and I didn't really know her that well, but Annie gives out these contact lists that you give out, and usually I get home from that when they give them out and try and add as many people from that as I can find on Facebook, so I can stalk them. And
yeah, that's the only use of Facebook, really.
Yeah. So. And so added Anna, and that's all very good. And a couple of, I don't know, probably a few weeks, this is last year, a few weeks or months later, I was trying to find a way to link my internet blog to my Facebook account so it automatically updated, and went on there and it says 10 of your friends are using this application on Facebook. And I went on there and I was like, oh, okay, I'll check this out. But then only one person was actually writing on their Facebook blog, and it was Anna, who was writing about her adventures in New York. And not just like, hey, how's it going? I'm in New York. Woohoo. It was, to my surprise, it was someone talking very passionately about Broadway theatre and going on an adventure. So I brought her on today to talk about that, and hopefully try and convince her to come on more podcasts and talk about her various interests in popular culture and whatnot. But yeah, so Anna, what was the deal with that?
Basically, I went over there to do a music theatre course, and ended up staying there for 3 months and then got kicked out because my visa ran out. Nice. But yeah, my entire time was spent going to classes and seeing shows. Mm-hmm. So. Was that
the first time you've been over there?
No, my third, but first time I've lived there.
Oh, really? So how did you come to go there first time? Like, just on holiday? Or?
Yeah, I've always been an absolute music theatre and theatre in general, like, fanatic. So, yeah, it was just before year 12, and my dad was like, well, you're going to have to get through this year.
Yeah.
This is going to get you through it, so you keep in mind why you're doing this.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I went, and then...
So he just sent you over there, say, check this out.
Yeah. But it's also been lucky because Dad has to go over and work there sometimes, so he was like, yeah, just come with me. They won't know. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I see, like, he could have gone business class, but you got 2 economies instead, or kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And where did you start off? Like, why musical theatre, or just theatre in general? What takes your interest? What was your, like, first, like, oh my god, that looks cool?
I don't know. I've always wanted to perform in some sort of medium since I can remember. And, of course, it varied as I was growing up, depending on what my interest was. So during the Spice Girls years, I wanted to be a singer, that kind of thing.
Tell you what I want, what I really want.
Yeah. Great role models as well. And then it wasn't really till... So I had a friend go through Whopper Music Theatre about 10 years ago now, and he brought me along to see all his shows, and then I saw one production they did of Andrew Lipper's Wild Party, and that was it. I was like, yep, that's what I want to do. And so since then, that's all I've been doing pretty much.
Cool. So The first time in New York, like, did you like set out like, hey, I'm gonna go to every show that I can, kind of thing, or you just like had a taste for it, like just went to a couple of shows?
The first time I was there for 10 days. So, yeah, basically every possible time a show was on, I went to see a show. So, yeah, there were matinees and night performances in one day, and yeah. So basically, yeah, it was as much as I could. And then the last time I was there, I actually ran out of shows to go see because I went to that many.
Yeah.
So, which is interesting.
That's probably a good problem to have, really.
Yeah.
My own experience is I went to London for a couple of days, and I went to see Les Mis, and I stayed in like a hotel on the West End there, and to walk from my hotel to Les Mis, you go past, like, I mean, you hear about West End and, you know, Broadway, but I didn't realize how like close everything is together. You like walk past, you know, Avenue Q and Phantom of the Opera, Lion King, just every couple of minutes is a theatre.
Picture heaven to look like.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So, and then I'm like, man, I'm only here for like a day. So
yeah. Next
time I go, I'm going to go back and see a lot more stuff, because you're like, oh wow. 'Cause, so I imagine I've never been to New York. Is that what Broadway's kind of like? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically, you have Times Square, and then that entire area is Broadway. So you have streets running off Times Square on either side, and that goes through about a span of, I think it's classified 42nd Street to about 55th or something. That's classified as Broadway. So, yeah.
Is that just like a name to give that area, or is like it just has some?
Well, Broadway shows actually are classified. It's classified by the amount of seats in the theatre.
Oh yeah.
Can't remember what the cutoff is, but I think it's. I don't want to put out some random number and people hear this and be like, "That's wrong."
But so if it's below that number, it's
off Broadway.
Off Broadway.
And below that number is off Broadway.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Did you go any off Broadway shows?
Not off. I went to off Broadway though.
Is that kind of like everyone's like, oh, who wants to see off Broadway? I mean, we've got Broadway here, like.
Yeah, I think that's a large part of the problem with all tourists in general. Like, they hear about certain shows, and like Wicked or Phantom of the Opera, which have become very mainstream shows, without realizing, even on Broadway, there are so many amazing shows that aren't bringing audiences because, like Next to Normal, for example, it sounds intense and it's brilliant, but people won't go see it because they're like, oh, shock therapy. Oh, why do I want to see a musical about that?
I want
to see a musical about witches. And,
This is a really horrible confession, but the other day I was I got out Jersey Girl by Kevin Smith. Is a movie.
Yeah.
Because I had never seen it, and you know, it was meant to be like worst movie ever, and because it was just like Jiggly, or however you pronounce that other movie that the Bennifer was in, and it wasn't that good. But the girl in it was she had to do a musical theatre act, and so her dad took her to one show that she wanted to see, and she went and saw Sweeney Todd, and she was like a 5-year-old, and she was like, oh, this is what I want to perform in class. So that was the big shock moment in that movie where she performed that in front of all her fellow students, slitting people's throats.
And see,
whatnot.
I've actually done that in school before.
And what school was that?
I went to John 23rd.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I kept my drama teacher consistently amused by the ideas I brought to class based on various musicals.
I think I remember you saying in your blog that you consider yourself a bit of a freak of knowledge. So is that kind of your obsession? Like, I know, like some people know every single stat in football, but you know,
it's not like I deliberately study performers and shows and stuff. I just have a really bad memory for everything but learning lines, learning lyrics, and like Broadway knowledge. It just sticks. So.
So how do you like keep up with that? 'Cause did you grow up in Perth?
Yeah.
We're broadcasting from Perth here, Australia. It's like
Yeah.
pretty far away from everywhere.
Yes, it is.
So how do you keep with that? Just like internet? You're like...
Yeah, there are a few websites that there are more of the or professional ones, such as Broadway.com, which has it does have like a Broadway Buzz section, but the majority is for tourism purposes. But then there are other websites like BroadwayWorld.com, which has just up-to-date stories of what's happening on Broadway, and like chat forums, which can be so bitchy.
Well, that's what the internet's for, really.
Exactly. And then there are just heaps of random websites like Broadway Understudies and who's going on instead of who for a show.
Oh, really? Are they allowed to, like, I mean, these days of like Twitter and that, are they allowed to like Twitter say, hey, I'm on tonight? Or is that bad?
Yeah,
because then
yeah.
that will decrease the audience because they're like, oh, the understudy's on tonight.
No, well, the majority of mainstream audiences wouldn't really have them on Twitter anyway, so they wouldn't know till the show. But yeah, they do, just to let their friends know that, hey, I'm going on as Melchior for this performance or whatever. Yeah.
So you went over there for last year to study. What were you up to there? What was that deal?
The course.
Yeah. And how did you come across it? Like, what did you...
Well, it's an idea I've had for a while now, to go over and just do a summer course, thinking maybe one day I could actually go full-time and do a music theatre course over there, until I found out how much it costs. It's ridiculous.
I think I've looked up film schools in New York, and it's like $100,000 for a year or something.
NYU is $58,000 per year.
Yeah.
It's, I cried.
Oh, no.
But yeah, there were a few schools that did summer courses.
Yeah.
And Cap 21, the school I went to, it's run as a full-time course through NYU, but it's just also opened up its own, I think, 2-year course.
Yeah.
So they had a summer program, which, I decided to do, which I just Googled, yeah. Which, it was an amazing find. It's incredible. I had teachers, like my acting teacher was Sir Galahad and Spamalot.
Oh, yeah.
When he was teaching us. And another...
And so he was performing...
Yeah.
While you were...
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He brought us backstage, and we rehearsed in his dressing room and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool.
So, like, what was the teaching schedule? So how many shows do they do? Like, how does he fit time into teach?
Broadway show schedule, there are 8 shows per week. Get that right? Yeah. And so that's, generally speaking, it's Monday night is dark, and then Tuesday, so it's Tuesday to Saturday night, including Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday matinees.
Oh, yeah.
And so he would come in and teach us for 2 hours, Tuesday and Thursday in the afternoon. And then, we could come and rehearse at the show in between matinee and night performances and get to meet other cast members and stuff.
So did you, like, have an apartment over there? Like, how do you...
I stayed in student housing because it was during the summer break. A lot of the universities put up their housing for, like, apprenticeships and interns and stuff who were coming to the city. So I stayed at one called Marymount, which was 52nd Street between 2nd and 3rd. So it was about 20 to 30 minute walk to Broadway. That was...
Was that near your school as well? Or?
It wasn't too far. It was about a 10-minute subway ride.
Yeah.
But that's the great thing about Manhattan. It's so small.
Yeah.
You can just... I've managed to walk from one side of the island to the other.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I remember, the longest I've ever stayed anywhere outside of Perth is Paris, and the first few times in the way I just took the metro. I was like, oh yeah, take the metro. And then, like, at one point I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to save some money. So I started walking, then I realized, man, this place is only like, you think you go down the metro and you go, and you're like going like 10 kilometers, but you've gone literally like 500 meters. You come, I'm like, man, I could have walked that. like, what was the culture like over there? Like, that you, like, were you staying with other students in your course kind of thing?
No, I was staying just with 3 other girls who, they were all there doing internships.
Mm-hmm.
One was for a magazine, one was for a cosmetics company. But yeah, it was very interesting in that respect. Like, I was living with a girl who was British but grown up in, I can't remember, it was Florida or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another girl who was from an island off Venezuela,
Mm-hmm.
but an American citizen now. And another girl who was just a valley girl.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, all these separate cultures coming together, and yeah, it's weird just living with people you've never met before
Yeah.
and just trusting that the situation will work out.
I hope they don't have a dodgy history.
Yeah.
Do you did you like make friends with them, or you just like you kind of like sick of them by the end?
We didn't really see each other that much. We all had pretty separate schedules, but the girl
Yeah.
I was living with, like, actually shared a room with, we became quite good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I still keep in touch with her.
Mm-hmm.
It's Facebook.
Good old Facebook. What was like your schedule for like the course you're doing? Like, what kind of things were you doing in the course?
It was I can't remember if it was 9 to 6 or 10 to 6. One of those, anyway. Generally in the mornings it would be either 3 hours of ballet then jazz, or vocal tech and tap, and then we'd have break, and then it would either be acting and music theatre scene study, or business of theatre, or music theory.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was about it. But
and
it was
were all those
amazing.
classes just like one group going?
The dancing was split up according to levels. You
Yeah,
had to
yeah.
audition, and they put you on levels. And then it's the same with the vocal tech class and the theory class. But otherwise, we were put in. There were 5 groups.
Yeah.
And
So
we
how many
just stayed
people
with
per
those
group?
people.
Like how big is this course?
We had about 16 people in my group.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about the same, and there were 5 groups all up. So no, that can't be right. There must have been more than that. It was quite a few people that attended. I can't quite remember the numbers now.
And you were there for six weeks.
Yeah, the course is 6 weeks, and then I stayed on until the end of my visa.
Yeah. In New York?
Majority of the time, and then I went to visit friends up in Canada.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then travelled down to LA and Anaheim and San Francisco.
Okay.
And then got homesick and came back to New York.
You came back to New York?
Yeah.
Yeah. And where did you stay, like, with that? Like, did you get the same student accommodation kind of thing?
No, this was quite an epic journey coming back. It's one of the girls from the course, because a lot of them were from outside of New York.
Yeah.
But one of them had an apartment in New York, and she said I could stay with her.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got back into the city, it was about 1 a.m. and she was currently in Europe, and forgot to tell her roommate that I was going to be staying with them. So I couldn't get into the apartment, scared the daylight out of this girl, because some Australian girl was trying to get into the apartment at 1 a.m.
Bloody Australians.
Yeah. And turns out they had to move out of the apartment in the next few days anyway, because the original owners were coming back,
Mm-hmm.
which this girl forgot to mention and didn't even know. So I had to go quickly find accommodation, ended up staying a night in Spanish Harlem, which was probably one of the scariest nights I've ever had. Might not to live up to the stereotype, but you could actually hear people, like, gunshots and stuff going off in the street, and it was just unsettling. And then after that, I'm like, you look back on this stuff and think, how did I come out of this in one piece? But I ended up going to that website Craigslist,
Oh yeah.
And found just a temporary apartment on Central Park with a chef and his dog, and that actually turned out really well, surprisingly, considering how dodgy that actually was.
So what was your Craigslist experience? You're just like, I've never used this before, but I hear about it. Yeah.
I've heard about it before, and like you can get jobs through it and stuff. But then when I got back to Australia about 2 months later, I heard that there was a Craigslist killer who was hunting down girls for modelling jobs or something and then killing them. So yeah, it was a lucky break.
And so you found a chef, so he had like his nice rack of knives just there. And going, shing, shing, shing.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that. No, it turned out to be okay. Because his other roommate needed to go away for about a week, or for the time I was still there for.
Yeah.
So yeah, it turned out really well.
So how far away was that? So you were there just to hang out in the city, or you were like more Broadway?
Yeah, I think it was more for my own sense of mind just to say goodbye.
Yeah,
because as weird as that sounds, saying goodbye to a city, but yeah, it was just an amazing time. And yeah, being back in Perth, I just really want to get out again. Just nothing compares to that place.
Yeah. So what were your favorite like shows? Like talk about like the theatre shows that you like.
Across this trip or in overall?
That trip, if you want, yeah. Or if you just have like special things.
I have a few favourite shows for different reasons. Xanadu I saw a ridiculous amount of times.
On that trip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because it's based on that Olivia Newton-John movie. But it was a piss take of it. But it was so funny. Yeah. And it's one of those, because I have this thing where I love to look at the ensemble during shows, and I can't stand it in any level of production if there are ensemble members just standing there watching the action happen, and not making their own action. But with Xanadu, it was such a small cast, and the theatre was so small, and because I got student rush tickets every time, I was sitting like first 2 rows each time. Just watching each of the ensemble members, like every time there was something new. Yeah. It was just...
So they stayed out on stage is like or is this just in general? Like,
what, for the show or?
Well, I mean, some theatre shows I've seen where like, you know, someone goes off stage but they just sit down on the ground.
Oh yeah. Xanadu was mainly like that. They had on stage seating where the ensemble would sit sometimes as well. But yeah, no, I don't mean like when they were supposed to be off stage.
Yeah.
But sitting on stage and doing stuff, that's kind of distracting. But like part of the entire scene.
Yeah.
If it's a group scene and there are people just standing there not talking.
Did you get a chance to talk to them? Any like, did you go backstage or?
Yeah, a friend of mine.
Have Q&As and stuff like that?
I never went to one of those. I've actually been pretty lucky. The first time I went to New York, I was invited backstage to Don't Run Scoundrels by Greg Jabara. And so I got to go backstage then, and he showed me around, and got to meet Norbert Leo Butz and John Lithgow and Joanna Gleason, which is probably my favourite memory in the world. But then with Xanadu, my friend knew one of the ensemble members, and he told him about this little Australian girl who loves the show, and so he's like, yeah, bring her back. So I got to go around backstage at Xanadu and just told us a few inside things, and it was pretty cool.
Are you always like, what can I ask them, like, and then, or are you just like just absorbing it, and you're like,
yeah, it's quite overwhelming at sometimes, because it's just like, I've always dreamed of this, and it's not quite mine yet, but I'm here. So, yeah, just kind of take it in, and if anything comes up, I'll ask. But, yeah, generally I'm pretty shy as well, so don't really.
What do you enjoy going to theatre, or do you just like the experience, or do you just sit there and go, oh, I wish I was on the stage kind of thing, or?
That last one comes into a lot of shows I see, wishing
Yeah.
I was up there. But a lot of it, I always find that you can learn by watching.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see how different people approach a role. Say if I've seen this show before,
Yeah.
it's with a different cast. Just seeing how different people approach it, or I don't know. It also depends a lot on the show. Like if it's sometimes you just get so absorbed in the story and the acting, you just completely forget about. I don't know. Just trying to. I can't even think of the word right now.
Like
dissect their performance and the staging of it. But yeah, other times it's just interesting to see, like with Chekhov or with Shakespeare, how the director has approached the show and just how the actors deal with it. Just, I always find that fascinating.
I when I was in Paris, I was going to. My initial idea was to come. I had like an apartment there, and my initial idea was to take the train over to London to go see the shows, because out of context, that doesn't make much sense. But I was there two times, and I went there the first time. I was like, oh, I got to go back to London, and I was in Paris this other time. I'm like, oh, I got to go again. So I was going to take the train over. Then some of my friends who were in London were like, screw that, we're coming to visit you in Paris, who I was meant to be staying with. So they came over instead. I'm just like, well, okay, I have one condition. You guys, you have to be my date to the theatre. So we went to the theatre at the Louvre, like the main theatre they have at the Louvre. And of course, it's all in French. And it probably would have been a good idea to like at least read the synopsis before we went in. But it was quite an interesting experience, because you're sitting there going, we're trying to work it out, and I only know like 20 French words, and like I thought it was this big like this big sort of drama, sort of Sex and the City thing where everyone's you know sort of on the sly between each other, and there's lots of stuff going on. And at some point they start going ma mère, ma frère, ma soeur, and I realized they're actually a family. And I was like, whoa. So, but that was a really interesting experience, because you're just sitting there in this theatre with like full of people, and you're like one of the only people that probably doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah. And
you do start to notice like all the little things, because you can't understand what they're saying. So you start to notice the performances, and you're trying to read what does this mean, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't think I've never been into a show that's been completely in another language, and I haven't known what was going on beforehand. But I love like seeing Shakespeare and done in a different language.
Yeah.
Is so interesting. It's incredible.
I always find that sometimes either if like I've been to a few different Shakespeare productions, and if I lose my place, I have no idea what's going on. So it's kind of but at least like the Shakespeare plays, I usually know. I've either read them or I know the story to them, and I can keep up with.
I find though, like, even if you do get lost in the text, the themes are so universal. It's just kind of like, oh, I know what's going on. Yeah, I've been there.
So, with the going back to your course, was that all leading up to like a show? Like, did you do public shows, or were you just performing for each other, kind of thing?
Yeah, it was just for each other. We had a bunch of assessments that we had to do within the classes. With the dancing, it was just more improving technique than a final performance. But in acting, we had 2 scenes that we had to do over the 6 weeks, and music scene study we did Rodgers and Hammerstein the first half, and then a contemporary the second half. And then vocal performance was another class we had. We just got new assessments each week. It's how we delivered a song and how we painted the text and all that kind of stuff.
So how does all that? what's the status now of the world of Anna? Like, you're back in Perth.
Yeah, hopefully
What are you
it's
doing?
temporary. Basically, I'm just trying to gear up for drama school auditions now.
Yeah.
With backup plans in place in case, all of which none of them lead to me staying here. So yeah, that's the goal. Is just trying to focus on next year now and figure out what I'm going to do and how I'm going to get the next step done. But yeah, this year has just been a lot about. I've done a couple of shows. I did The Wedding Singer with Mesh.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. I saw it was on.
Yeah.
I actually tried to get tickets to that. Me and my friend
Yeah.
were in Subiaco, and like everyone's like, "Oh, there's a wedding singer," and we're like, "We're not, but it's sold out." Or
Yeah, we sold out every show.
oh wow.
It got really good feedback. And then I did another show for UDS.
So what? Sorry, tell me about the wedding singer. What is that? Is that related to the movie?
Yeah.
I assumed that was the case. Yeah.
It's based on the movie. It even has a couple of Adam Sandler songs in it.
Oh, so it's just completely your own musical. You're not just like singing the '80s songs.
Yeah, no, it's original musical.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's ridiculous.
And what were you playing? Can I
Um,
relate from the movie? Do I know?
I was what they call a featured performer, which is basically ensemble with
Mm-hmm.
roles and singing parts. But there are a few characters from the movie. Probably the only one that was in the movie was Sideburns Lady
Oh yeah.
at the wedding, which is probably my favourite thing ever to play.
So did that involve getting sideburns?
Yeah.
Cool.
They were quite impressive.
So who put the show on?
Mesh, they're part of
Oh, yeah.
WA Stage School.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. They're doing You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown next. So
Oh yeah.
should be good.
Where is that going to be?
I think at Subi again.
Yeah.
I think. I'm not too sure.
And what other shows have you been doing?
Yeah, this one for UDS at UWA.
Mm-hmm.
Called Us Kings, which is an original script by one of the guys in the play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which was
So
interesting.
that was a play, not a musical.
Yeah.
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 And now I remember this is a random thing. I remember you were on the Ellen show.
Yeah.
Going back to being in America. What was
Yeah.
that? What was that?
It wasn't anything really. It was just my friend and I went and did the Warner Brothers VIP studio tour,
Mm-hmm.
and our cart ended up being hijacked by Ellen, and she took us around the studio and did this bit for her show, and then she ran off and we had to do about 2 more hours of reshoots
Oh really?
with no pay. And it was my friend and I had just done this kids show together, and they were like, "Oh, you finally get to know what it's like to be in a TV show." And we're sitting there going, "Yeah, we know, and we got paid for it last time. What are we going to get for this?"
So what exactly did they reshoot?
Just
So the first
different
time she came
angles.
out, it was spontaneous. But
Yeah,
then
we had no idea. It's just reshoots of different
did she have
angles.
anything informative to tell you, like on the tour, or
No,
it was just like
that's the
5
thing.
seconds of
No, she took the cart for about 10 minutes.
yeah.
We actually missed out on doing the proper studio tour.
And they never let you go and do it again.
No, like
Oh my
they didn't know how much we'd actually been on when they got back to us. And so they were about to take us out at the end, and we're driving through all these like on the lot sets. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, what was this used in?" They're like, "Oh, haven't you done this?" Like,
No.
No, we got hijacked by Ellen. Yeah, so we actually got the bum end of the deal, pretty much.
Bitch.
It was interesting.
And so the reshoots were just like driving around certain parts with her not in the car, but just
Yeah, different camera angles,
so they could
and,
do
like,
like
our reaction shots. It
so different
was-
fake reactions. Oh, it's Ellen.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, by the end of it, my friend and I were just sitting there just going, "No, I'm not going to do this."
I have to try and see if I can find. I remember I found the YouTube video, but I have to try and
Yeah.
put it up so I can link to it so people can actually see what.
No, there's no need. There's no need for that.
Well, at least you got to be on TV and
Yeah.
do some interesting stuff. So you were saying like next year, what are you going on to auditioning for drama schools? What kind of stuff is that? What is like? Is that in New York or in America or Sydney?
First option would be, the easiest thing would be to stay here and try for WAPA.
Yeah.
But if that fails, and NIDA, but if that fails, there are a few other drama schools in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
I've came up with these plans, but then ironically the third option is a couple of the smaller drama courses in New York.
Yeah.
Which is actually my favourite option, so not really too upset if the others fall through.
So what was it you said you how was it about getting a visa? Like, how hard is it to get a visa to go?
To get travelling visa is easy.
And you can do the courses on that visa, yeah.
Because I wasn't working and it didn't exceed the 3-month limit.
Mm-hmm.
Except the thing with that is if you're travelling interstate, they treat you like a terrorist no matter what.
Oh, really?
I look quite young.
Yeah.
I look like I'm about 12.
So you probably are a terrorist.
Yeah. It was ridiculous. Meanwhile, I think an American with a firearm could probably board a plane with, being undetected. But to get a student visa, you have to go and audition for the course and then be accepted and then come back to your own country and then go to American consulate, put your forms in, put the letter of acceptance in, and then you'll get your visa. So you have to actually come back. It's a expensive exercise, but to get permanent residency, it's like getting blood from a stone pretty much. I actually met with an Australian director who's now living in LA, and he was telling me he got an entertainment lawyer to get his permanent visa, but she was telling him that there was a woman who'd been living in the States, I don't know how long. She got married, she had kids, she had her own business there. And then she went back to Australia because her dad was very ill, and then tried to get back into the country, and they're like, no, you can't get in. She's like, well, my entire life is set up here.
Oh my God.
And it took about, I think, a year or two for her to actually get back. And she'd been living there for a good 10 years.
That's great.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me because my auntie is French, and that was one of the reasons why I was over in France. And she now is married. She's moved here with my uncle, and they have a baby, and they've been married 2 or 3 years now. And she still has to reapply every year for a new visa, and they don't just automatically review it. They're like, she always has to get worried each year that they're gonna not let her stay, which is just crazy.
It's ridiculous.
There's a lot of people that should, I'm sure they put pressure on for reasons, but this is not someone who's not gonna is not taking advantage of our country or anything like that.
Actually, my friend who I work with, she's Canadian. She's just been deported. They're not renewing her visa, and she's got a boyfriend here now. She's got an apartment.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I have a Canadian friend. He had the same problem, and after high school, he was allowed to stay here during high school, and then even though his family were kicked out, and then but then after high school, he moved in with his Australian girlfriend, but then he wasn't allowed to. He was only allowed to have a job for 3 months at a time. He had to get a new job, and then eventually they're like, "No, you got to go." And so that relationship didn't last because she went back over with him, and then until her visa ran out, and she came back, and they were both stuck for a year. And then he came back, and they're like, "I think this is done." And then after all that, but
it's just stupid.
It's crazy. It's not like the movies. You see the movies, and it's like, oh, you go overseas and fall in love. I wish it was more like that.
No.
Yeah. So are you going to try and do that? Go while you're over there next time, audition for a multi-year course, or
yeah.
And try and get a student visa.
Yeah, student visas will be easy to get once you get in it. It's just after your course is done, you kind of have to rethink your plan of action.
Can't you try and marry an American guy?
Yeah,
That's
old
fun.
American guy. I think that's the way to go.
Maybe you could like because they have lots of issues with gay marriage. You can marry a gay guy, and then he can go have his partner, and have this.
That's it. Yeah, no, that's
Do the
another
whole,
option I was thinking of.
Is it Chuck and Larry thing?
Yeah, I refuse to see that movie, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen it, so I think I've absolutely got that wrong because I think it was two guys getting married, but the opposite of what I'm talking about. But anyway, I remember they had the trailer had the girl from Seventh Heaven walking around half naked, but
Oh, of course.
yeah. So well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I'm hopefully gonna get you back. Maybe you'll come back and talk about just theatre in general.
Yeah.
We're trying to get a theatre podcast started here, and now I always ask this, but not a lot of people do this. But how do people find you on the internet if they want to stalk you? Or if they just like, oh, she's passionate about theatre, maybe we should get her into our show.
I'm trying to set up a proper blog, I guess, about not just theatre, but just general. Okay, it's about theatre and working on shows and shows I've seen and all that kind of stuff. So I'll get that up and send you a link because it's currently non-existent.
Do you Twitter?
Yeah, I also Twitter. I think my name is Darcy W.
Darcy W.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I
okay.
made it up sometime during high school. But yeah, why not?
Oh, so that's like your little name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember my name was Thomas, and everyone was like, "What? Who's Thomas?" And because everyone else was like Surfer Girl 1896 and super cool guy 21, and I was like, it's just simple Thomas.
So you grow up and you look back at those names and you just think, why did I do that? But then with actual names, it's just like, yeah, it's my alter ego.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
We'll put some notes up on the blog if you want to see what else she's been up to. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. You can find the Gimmerish FM website at fm.gimmerish.com.